What do you think classifies as middle class in this day and age? Do you think $1 million is middle class? Do you think $1 million is upper middle class? Do you think $1 million makes you rich and wealthy? Becoming a millionaire is easier than it's ever been in the United States of America. There's 22.7 million estimated millionaires in the country right now, and they say that 2024 is going to produce more millionaires than ever. Switzerland, however, has the highest number per capita, but obviously it's a smaller country, they got less people. The majority of millionaires in the US are between 60 and 79 years old, which is interesting to think how long it takes most Americans to hit that millionaire status. So let's take a look today and see what the experts say it takes to hit upper class, middle class, lower class, what those delineations are. And then let's see what millionaires, how they classify themselves. I think this will be interesting because there's quite a bit of a contrast there. Let's get into it right now.
Shut up and sit down.
This is the Retirement Mentality Place. We're going to change your mentality about retirement. We talk a lot about real estate investing, retiring early. And today I want to talk about how the millionaire status and the middle class, are those becoming the synonymous? We've got so many millionaires now. Is that where the middle, is that, the rank to get to middle class? People have, aspire to be millionaires. That was sort of like the goal for everyone to hit $1 million. And, it's just $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to be. So what do we think? Put a comment down below. Let me know what you think the net worth level is that it takes to be in the middle class. When I was doing some research for this, most of the information, most of the data out there all talked about what income level puts you in lower class, middle class, upper middle class, wealthy. But I don't think income level really should be the judge of it, because if you're making 300 grand and you live out in San Francisco, you might be doing just as well as a person making $60,000, $75,000 that lives in Oklahoma City. And not to mention, how well you handle your money, how much money you have after you pay your bills. I'm a firm believer in it's not how much money you make, it's how much money you keep. So I don't think making $400,000 a year and living in the super high cost of living area has any more to do with your middle class lifestyle or your lower class lifestyle or your upper class lifestyle. So I just don't think income is a good determination. So I wanted to look into this from the standpoint of net worth. I think that has a better classification of, how you rank in the class system. The only thing I'll say that I found in my research that I somewhat agree with as far as the income levels go is the top 20% is the upper class, the bottom 20% is the lower class, and everybody left in the middle is the middle class based on income. Okay, I'll go along with that. Okay, so with that being said, let's break out what the categories are that I could find for net worth by class. The first one that I found was from the Federal Reserve, and this was a survey done back in 2022. So let me look at my notes while we do this here. It says I'll put it on the screen here so you can see it as well. So according to the Federal Reserve survey, upper class starts with a net worth of $793,120. I guess it's a very specific number because the Federal Reserve does very calculated figures here. And so upper middle class has an average net worth of $300,800. The middle class has an average net worth of $169,420. The lower middle class has an average net worth of $58,550. And the lower class has an average net worth of $16,900. And I'm going to show you one more graph here just to show you a little bit of the difference and show you that the data is not too far off, but there's a little bit of a consensus on the data. I got this data from the Census Bureau. So they broke it down like this. They said, and they used median net worth, and I'm not going to get into a big conversation about the difference between average and median, but there's a difference there. And so they have the bottom 20% as being poverty with a net worth of $6,030. And then the next 20% would be the lower middle class. They have this category with $43,760. Then the next 20% would be the middle class, which would be a net worth of $104,700. Then the next one would be upper middle class at $201,800. And finally, the wealthy having a median net worth at $608,900. And frankly, I find these numbers frightening because these seem a lot lower than I think people need to actually retire and live off of their retirement nest egg. Personally, my net worth is way above what they're classifying as the upper middle class or wealthy. I'm well over $1 million, and none of these categories even reached $1 million. And so it's a little bit discerning. With this Census Bureau, they have the middle class having a net worth of only about $100,000. So if you look at these numbers, 80% of the population has a net worth under $500,000, and that is a little bit terrifying because that means that most people are just going to be relying on their Social Security for retirement. Now I know there's a few people here on the YouTubes that have YouTube channels that specialize in retiring on $500,000, and some that say retire on $500,000 and less. And those videos, I guess, get a lot of clicks because apparently 80% of the population is falling into that category. And I guess when you're making these videos, most of the people are like, that's me, I want to click on that. And so it's just another instance of people watching the wrong content on YouTube. Instead of trying to figure out how to grow their net worth, they're watching videos on how they can live off of less. And maybe that's good. Maybe they don't have the time left to grow their net worth, but trying to figure out how to live off of a $500,000 net worth is a little bit scary to me. One of the themes that I noticed on some of these retire on low income channels is the theme of the channel is worrying about money. They're constantly tracking the money. How did I do this month? How much income from YouTube did I have? How did my dividends do? How did this do? And they're tracking it and they're worrying about it and tracking it. And I don't want to work to get to retirement to just worry about money and track it and do micro adjustments because the stock market was down 3%. So I need to micro adjust over here to set this off. So this month I can pull out 3.2% instead of 3.8% that I pulled out last year. And all these little micro adjustments would just make my head explode. It's not the way I foresee my retirement going. Because let's face it, $1 million just don't go as far as it used to. And the dream of becoming a millionaire just ain't as rosy as it once was. So I thought it would be interesting to see how millionaires rank themselves in this class system. It's kind of an outdated system anyways, but people still do want to know, like, how do I fit in? People like to see how they compare. People like to check over the Joneses and see what's going on over there and see how they match up. So I found another study that looked at how millionaires looked at themselves. This was done by Ameriprise, and they found that 91% of millionaires don't classify themselves as upper class or rich. 60% said that they're upper middle class, and 30% of millionaires said they are simply middle class. And I think I have to agree with this. I would put myself in middle class. I haven't really disclosed my net worth on this channel before, but it is obvious it's over $1 million. And I would put myself in this middle class category. And I think a big part of it is sort of the millionaire mindset. Most of us millionaires who have made our own money, especially me going broke once along the way, I've lived very frugally. And, when you're not driving a baller car and going on baller trips and whatever, you watch your money, you've been very frugal with it. And so when you don't, maybe, I don't know, I guess I haven't put a lot of thought into this, but I think if you don't think of yourself as being rich and living a rich lifestyle and, driving fancy cars and things, you see other people with those things and you just sometimes assume they're richer than you, even though maybe they just have a ton of debt and they're struggling to keep their head above water. I drive a sensible car. I live in a sensible house. We eat sensible meals. We go on vacations, but nothing is too extravagant. And so you just feel like you're doing fine and easy breezy, and you're just kind of in the middle class. I'm sure somebody's going to be in the comments, oh, you have $1 million and you think you're middle class, da da da. It's also like I don't have like a big chunk of money put somewhere. We bought one piece of real estate every year and we live off of the rental income. So it was always struggling to buy the next property. And then every time we got a new property, a little bit more money came in and life got a little bit easier every time, but it was never wasn't a big windfall. I didn't win the lottery, and I didn't see dollars just accumulating up into this big, huge number. They slowly did as real estate appreciated and mortgages got paid down, but it just never just saw like a pile of money growing for myself, at least. Again, I guess for me, the goal was never to live a rich lifestyle. It was to sort of get out of the game as soon as I could without having to go to the 9 to 5 grind and having enough money to live on. There's another study that sort of relates to this. It was done by Chubb, and they found that 68% of people that they talked to with investable assets over 10 million didn't consider themselves rich. Now, for me, I think 10 million is the place where I would draw the line and say, like, 10 million and up, you guys are rich. Because I think at 10 million, you're at a point at 10 million where it's pretty hard to screw it up and lose it all. You've got a pretty long runway there that if something starts to go wrong, you can make corrections and, keep the assets that you have. That same survey said that 2.2 million is the cutoff to be wealthy. So 2.2 million wealthy, and people with 10 million don't consider themselves rich. And I'll roll in one more study that I found through the research, and that was a Charles Schwab study. And it found that the definition of wealth is actually changing, and more people are talking about having healthy relationships and finding happiness and overall general good well-being. And that's not something that used to creep into these surveys about if you feel wealthy, do you feel rich? Now some of these touchy-feely things about just mainly being happy are coming in. And I think this is a good thing, because I think if wealth or happiness or richness in your life isn't just a number, it's not just to hit this certain big round number, maybe we'll stop looking over at the Joneses. Maybe we don't care what's in their driveway. And maybe that keeps us from trying to hit 10 million or 5 million or 2.2 million, and just hitting the number that covers our bills, gives us a comfortable life, and lets us have the time and the freedom that we want in our lives. So I don't know what you guys think. Leave me some comments down below. Let me know if you still believe in this sort of middle class, upper class system, and if you think $1 million is middle class, or if you think $1 million is rich. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this video, go watch this video next. It's about sort of figuring out how much is enough and learning to enjoy your time a little bit more. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.